And once filming had wrapped in New York, the only prop that absolutely had to go to LA was the Ectomobile, because it was one of a kind. And then on the back lot in LA, with all the hydraulics underneath there to move the street pieces, you can actually film the Ghostbusters, well, their stunt doubles, including Tom Morga as Egon, falling down into the street. So the sidewalk starts to tear up and elevate in different directions, and then the Busters fall down into the street. Then the police car is going to roll down into the street. This piece is going to reverse directions and move upward. And all these pieces here have similar movements. And that's it. That's all they needed to film in LA, was those few seconds. Ba-da-ba-ba. So, we know for certain that the ambulance was not transported from New York to LA because it differs. It must have been locally sourced in Los Angeles. And although there were 2 Ectomobiles for the movie, they didn't look alike. So you had the classic white finished Ectomobile that we all know and love, and there was also Roger Bay's pre-Ecto. Now, it didn't look like this when the production rented it from him. It was red. So he was a bit surprised to discover it painted to be black and gray. But he got paid an additional amount to have it repainted if he wanted, and he chose to leave it like that. And we know this one actually was transported from New York to LA because it appeared outside the firehouse in New York that was only used for exteriors, and it appeared inside the firehouse in LA, which was only used for interiors. And we also know it was trailered because the grandson of the guy that drove the truck to pick it up in Chicago and take it to New York posted a picture on the GB Fans forums a couple years ago. Matter of fact, Roger Bay told me, I've never seen that picture before.
So that means this is the last photo ever taken of it before it was painted black and gray.
As near as I can determine, there was no fire truck on the LA recreation. At least none are visible in the backlot shot. But what about the police car? Was it locally sourced in LA or was it brought from New York? I tend to think it was locally sourced in LA. It might have made the journey, and there's just no hard data either way. But I mean, think about it. They didn't bring the same ambulance across the country. They didn't even bring the same actor playing the doorman across the country. They got somebody from LA that kind of looked like him. And if they cut a car in half for the New York footage and then they shot a full-size car in LA, that has to be at least 2 cars used for the production, which probably explains why the numbers on the tail look a little bit hand-painted. And if they're going to paint 2 of them to be identical, they could easily have painted a 3rd one. So that would be the one that's whole in New York, the one that's half in New York, and the one that's whole in LA. Now this is just a theory, mind you, because on Blues Brothers, they did actually repair cars overnight, repaint them overnight, and use them for the car crash scenes over and over and over. And remember that in the 1999 DVD filmmaker commentary track, producer Joe Medjuk does say that he went to a breakfast meeting and somebody said, aren't you guys filming around the block? Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to. A car fell into the street. So they had that cut in half car ready to go early morning. They could have chopped the same one from the day before in half overnight. Whoa, could that have been why Chuck Gasper's practical effects crew worked 22 hours in a single day, filming all day, and then cutting a police car in half that night to have it ready for the next morning's shooting? I don't know. Because according to Dan Aykroyd, in an interview about Ghostbusters for BAM Magazine, issue 184 in June of 1984, the same 30 cars were used over and over for the crash scenes in Blues Brothers. And in a classic case of creative Hollywood accounting, according to Dan, the 30 cars that they did crash and the other 100 cars that they didn't crash were all written off as totaled on the Blues Brothers production and then sold to other productions and wound up being the police cars on the Dukes of Hazzard. Well, a big thank you to John Givens for loaning me the tables that he uses for the Ren Fair. So I now have an actual 12-foot space to do stuff on. I'd keep filming. I don't think the heavy stuff's going to come down for quite some time.